Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere, and I am live and loving it tonight. It is Sunday, August 25th, 2019, and I want to welcome everybody to Thrive in Change with me. The changes we want, the changes we don't. It's powerful to come together and set our intention toward growing and learning and getting good at life, right? Not just barely making it. Hey, Tyrese, I'm glad you're here. Al, it's good to see you. Thanks for popping on. Awesome. Love how people are jumping on right at the get-go. It's amazing. So good job, Tyrese and Al. You're the first ones in the pool. Thanks for being here. Whew. Tonight we're going to talk about a little bit more about hard work, but where we should put our hard work, right? Hi, Pamela Pacheco. It's good to see you. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about hard work. And the first place we need to start, the most powerful place that we can put our effort if we are wanting to actually grow and change. Bobby, I'm glad you're here. Carol, I'm glad you jumped on. It's great to see you. Hey, everybody. Awesome to have you here. While we're waiting for a few more people to jump in, I want to remind you that I have a YouTube channel that is, as of right now, unnamed. To find it, you have to go to YouTube and type in my name and it will pop up. If I get 100 subscribers, I'll be able to name it something productive and cool like Thrive and Change with Shannon LaBruyere. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would be honored if you did. It would certainly be a big help for me, but I also think that it would be a big help for you because you will have access to the entire archive of Sunday Night Live and then any other videos that I produce as we're moving forward, and they'll be all there for your enjoyment. So hopefully you'll be able to pop over to YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and I'll get to name it something cool, and you'll get to have access to great stuff that will help you thrive. Chris, I am glad you're here. All right, you guys, we are going to get started. We're going to talk today about the number one place where we can put our effort and our hard work to get the biggest return on our energy and time investment. It's like magic, people. When we start pouring ourselves into this one area of our life, everything else starts to transform. Everything else starts to change, and it starts to align with where we want to go, the dreams that we have, the purpose that we are exploring, and those goals that we've set. So here it is. This is the magic thing. You can write it down. Don't forget it. It's powerful. Are you ready? Taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is where the biggest bang for the buck happens when we are trying to work on improving ourselves and growing. Sylvia Schutz is joining us from the shores of Lake Superior, I do believe, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And for those of you who haven't been there, that is remote. And kudos to you, Sylvia, for being here. We love it. Thank you. Yes. Oh, and there's Jason Krieger. Hey, Jay. Arlene, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. I just did the big reveal. So if you don't have a lot of time, I'll say it again so you can just write it down and you can go off and whatever's on TV tonight. I don't think you'll do that. This is the one place where when we invest our time and our effort, we get the biggest return on our investment. That is in taking responsibility. When we take responsibility for our actions, for our choices, and even for the consequences of those choices, we empower ourselves, and that pays off big time. Ashley, so glad you jumped in. Thanks for being here. Taking responsibility. So I'm going to talk about 3 categories where when we take responsibility in these areas of life, we are going to see huge improvement in our circumstances, and we're going to see huge growth in ourselves, which then transforms into the purpose that we're trying to fulfill, the significance that we crave. All right, so taking responsibility is where it all begins. And this is the first place that I want you to consider taking responsibility if you haven't already. And it's going to sound a little familiar to you, I think. It's this: take responsibility for saying no. Take responsibility for saying no. Own it. Own that you are choosing not to do something that doesn't align with your goals and with your priorities. Own it. When we take responsibility for that, it is power beyond belief. And we spend a lot less time making excuses and trying to explain ourselves to people. When we have solid priorities, when we know what really matters in our life, and we've given that intentional thought, taking responsibility to protect that and guard it, owning up to the responsibility that we have to protect it and guard it, is an extremely powerful act. That is the first place that we can start taking responsibility, is saying no. Many years ago, I was in charge of public relations for a government agency, and that meant that if there were any emergencies that made it onto television news, I was the person who had to respond to the call. If there was an emergency, I was the person who had to go and be the spokesperson to explain to the public, this is what's going on. One day, it was early on a Sunday morning, I got a call from a television a television news station, and they said, Shannon, we just heard that there has been a bomb threat in a mailbox over in such and such a community. And that is a big deal, as you can imagine. So immediately I put my public relations hat on, and I'm thinking, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to go down there. I have to connect with these individuals. I had a whole list of things that were part of my job early on a Sunday morning that I was supposed to be doing. And then I looked at my husband as I was spouting off all of these things I needed to do, answering the calls because more calls are coming in and I'm taking them, you know, trying to get kids breakfast and taking these emergency phone calls from the media. And my husband looked at me and said, where are you going? And all of a sudden it dawned on me. That was a very, very special day for our family. My middle son, Michael, was going to be baptized that morning. And I was, for a moment, forgetting my priorities. I was forgetting that it's my responsibility to guard them. I forgot for just a few short seconds what really mattered in my life and the priorities that I had decided to live my life by. And when he looked at me and said, what are you doing? It flashed in front of me. Oh my God, Lord, I am sorry. I was so sorry. I said, you know what? I'm going to take care of this. Immediately shifted gears, called a colleague who was more than capable and more than able to handle that emergency that I thought was so important. And I narrowly missed making a horrible, horrible decision that would have impacted my family for weeks and months and probably years to come. I almost, in the heat of the moment, lost sight of what mattered. Thank God, just in the nick of time, I remembered, this is what I value. This is where my priorities lie. I encourage you to visit your priorities often. Revisit the things that matter to you, that you value and hold dear, the non-negotiables, the rocks in your life. And revisit those rocks, because sometimes an emergency pops up or something seems like it's so urgent, and it'll make us forget for just a few moments. And I encourage you also, surround yourself with people who understand what matters to you and share that same commitment to those values, because that is like a guiding light in a storm when urgent things pop up that try to steer us from saying no when we know we ought to. So That's the first part of taking responsibility, learning to say no. Thank you for that thumbs up. Yeah, it's on us. It's our job. Nobody else can say no for us. And just in case you were thinking that it was okay to get irritated with people for asking you, that's not a problem. People asking you to help them move, people asking you to lend them money, people asking them, they can ask all day long. It's not their fault. It's yours. You say no. It's on you. You can't fault people for asking you to share your time or your talent, especially if they don't have any ulterior motives. It's our responsibility. We need to own it. So we have to own saying no. That is the first area that we can start taking responsibility for our lives. Yep. Jason loves that. Devorah, I'm glad you're here. I've seen a couple others pop on. I'll say hi to you in a minute. You're not on my scroll anymore. Okay, the next area that we can take responsibility is to absolutely 100% refuse to place blame on circumstances when it was actually my choice. How many of us, and I will raise my hand here, how many of us have arrived late to an appointment and blamed traffic? Show of hands. I'd be shocked if everybody on this broadcast tonight hasn't done that at one time or another. It is so tempting to start blaming our circumstances for things that we chose into existence. Yep, I'm going to blame my mother because she guilted me into XYZ. Nope, not going to blame mother. I chose to do it. I just couldn't help it. We got stuck in traffic and I'm late. Don't blame traffic. It is what it is. Absolutely, there are circumstances that fall outside of our control. But when we get in the habit of blaming our circumstances, when we've chosen ourselves into a situation, we are inviting, how do I want to put it? We are inviting our power to dissipate and go away. We're saying, you know what? I'm not powerful. I don't get to choose things. I don't direct my path. How many of us know that if we left 15 minutes earlier, that construction wouldn't have stopped us? It just wouldn't have delayed us enough. How many of us know that if we had not eaten all of that chocolate cake, we wouldn't be having to show up at the gym, right? We choose our circumstances. We create them. It is so funny when I go through Christmas, Missy, I think, is hearing it. When we go through the holidays, it's so easy to say, you know what, I gained 10 pounds because, hey, it's Christmas. It ain't Christmas's fault. Christmas hasn't been shoving those cookies down your throat. You've been picking them up. That is the case with so many of our circumstances and choices. Absolutely, 100%. We are the ones that chose our way into it. So don't place blame for your circumstances on other circumstances. Just stop placing blame. We can look for reasons. Looking for reasons is valid and it's important. We want to know what causes things, right? I mean, we don't want to just go through life saying, you know what, I'm just going to be blissfully ignorant of all the cause and effect that's happening in my world. I just think sometimes we aren't quick enough to realize that we are the cause. And if we chose slightly differently, we would get a different result. We cannot blame not having money on why we don't have a higher education. If that's something we valued, we live in America, most of us. We've got ways to earn money. We've got ways to get what we need. We can't blame that I'm broke, I can't afford to invest in myself, I can't afford to join that class or take that training. I'm not buying it because the same time we're saying I can't afford it, we are drinking that large coffee that we got at the drive-thru from Starbucks, right? Or we're munching down on our McDonald's lunch that we didn't have to get and we chose it. So just know that when you blame your circumstances, You are building a case for yourself to not accomplish your dreams and your goals. You're building a case. So taking responsibility and saying, our choices, my choice is what got me where I'm at, by acknowledging that I had the power to get into that situation, I have also told myself, affirmed, I have the power to get out of it. If I can choose my way in, I can choose my way out. And like I've said in the past, even if we can't choose all of our circumstances and where we find ourselves, we can always choose the attitude we have toward it. What can I gain? What can I learn? How can I move forward? Those are all choices we have to own. Take responsibility. Don't blame your circumstances. I was just born this way. This is how my family was. Everybody in my family does this. It's a habit I can't stop. It's a habit we can stop. And I encourage you to stop now, because taking responsibility for our choices and acknowledging that our choices are creating our circumstances is one of the most powerful things we can do when we want to grow and change directions. Okay, so we got one more thing we're going to talk about. There's a story I told in our mastermind group yesterday morning, and I'm going to share it today because it resonated. It resonated with all of us as we were discussing this concept, and I think it's going to resonate with you too. And this is it. If Bob has a problem with everybody, Bob is the problem. I'm going to say that again. If Bob has a problem with everybody, Bob is the problem. This is the thing. Sometimes we find ourselves in this cycle of repetition, right? It's like deja vu all over again. It's like that movie Groundhog Day, where every morning the alarm goes off and Bill Murray wakes up and it's the same as it was yesterday. We get in a deja vu type of a circle where it just keeps happening to us. And we don't stop to realize that we're the problem. It's not just that I just keep finding guys like that. Why do I keep finding men like that? It's you. It's not them. How come nobody likes me? Everywhere I go, people hate me. It's you. Every job I have doesn't work out. It doesn't matter what I try. It's a failure. It's you. It's you, it's you, it's you. And when we take responsibility for saying, it's me, it's me, it's me, I'm Bob, then we have the opportunity to change. There are things in our lives that we would love to be able to say it's the other people in our life that make it happen for us. Every time my boss says a certain thing, it makes me mad and I end up spouting off. It's not your boss, it's you. You're the one. If you keep going from job to job to job and you keep butting your head up against the same issues, you're Bob. Bob's the problem. I want to invite you, look at your life and see, where are you experiencing the same bump in your head, bump in your head, bump in your head, and you just haven't bumped it enough to figure out, wait a second, I need to change what I'm doing. It's me. I'm the problem. Years ago, we had a car. It was right when I first got married, and it was a smaller car. And I had to duck my head a little bit to get out from the door. I don't know if you've ever done any of this. You have to kind of duck your head down to get out of the car. And for the life of me, I could not remember to duck my head down. And so I would try to get out. I would be in a hurry and I would smack my forehead on this door over and over and over. And I got so angry. I actually just started yelling, "What is going on? What is the problem with this stupid door? I keep smacking my head on the door. Why am I was Bob. It was not the door's problem. It was my problem. I was the one who needed to make the change. How many of you know that door isn't changing? that door that you keep smacking your head on isn't changing. You have to change. When we can realize I'm the one who has to make the shift, I'm the one who has to make the shift here, whether it's an animate person, somebody that you know, hey Brandy, I'm glad you're here, whether it's a person that you deal with that you constantly are at loggerheads, and then you go to another situation and the same thing starts happening with the person in the cubicle next to you, and then you go to another situation and it happens to the person who's sitting next to you in the lunchroom. You might be Bob. Bob's the problem. We can take responsibility for the repetitive situations that we find ourselves in, and we can take ownership of making the change so that we don't keep finding ourselves in the same boat. If you keep doing, if you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. A friend of mine used to teach it to people like this: if you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. And she would have the whole room snapping. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. It's true though. It's true. If that's a little handy thing you might want to share with somebody, feel free to steal it, because I stole it from Corrine. Yes, we can take responsibility for those repetitive things that keep happening in our life. And we say, why? Because I'm Bob. Bob's the problem. It's me. I need to take ownership of that and move forward, make a change so that things are different. So those are the three things, folks. I'm curious for you. Where have you begun saying no? I know we've been talking about that quite a bit on Sunday Night Live. We talked about saying no, saying yes, and saying maybe. I'm curious, where have you begun choosing to say no? Hey, Dawn, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for jumping on. Where are you saying no? Where are you taking responsibility for the demands on your time and your talent and your energy? Where do you say no that you didn't before? I'd love to know if you've started saying no in ways that you didn't before you started listening to this, because that'll encourage me. I would love to hear about it. The next piece is blaming our circumstances. If you've got an issue with that, throw it out there and say, you know what, I keep blaming XYZ for this bad habit I have. I'm going to take ownership of it and I'm going to change. I would love to hear what you're dealing with, because we can help. Just being here for each other, hearing what each other struggles with, is a powerful way for us to get better, to be held accountable for making a change, putting it out there in public. It's a good thing. So I encourage you to do it. And then the last thing is, are you Bob? In what area of your life have you been saying, why does this keep happening? Where are you experiencing that in your life? And what are you going to do to change it? Where are you Bob? I feel like getting little buttons that say, I'm not Bob. I don't want to be Bob. I want to have a clue, right? It's so important for us to understand that it's not bad luck that puts us in those predicaments. It's not that we just were born unlucky, or we don't have the right upbringing, or we don't have the right education. No, those are all excuses for us not taking responsibility for the fact that we're doing something consistently that's yielding a consistent result. We might be Bob. That's all I've got, you guys. Ha, Carol's laughing. That's it. That's what I've got for us today. But I really, really sincerely hope that you'll consider starting your personal growth journey by taking responsibility, not passing it off on anyone else, owning our choices, owning the fact that we've chosen ourselves into predicaments, owning the fact that if something repetitively keeps happening in our lives, we are probably creating it. Those three areas going to create huge momentum for you when you decide you want to move forward toward those things that really matter, right? Carol says this, sometimes half Bob and then realize, change and do better. Ooh, I like it. Yeah, it's unrealistic to think that we'll never fall into that repetitive trap, that we'll never fall into a pattern that we don't realize is happening, but we can, when we realize it, immediately make a change. And as leaders who are leading ourselves, we can get good at starting to recognize those patterns before they get out of hand and nip them in the bud. I had to laugh when I was thinking about me bashing my head on the car door every time I tried to exit, because when I realized that I was doing that, it was when I actually heard myself saying, "Why does this keep happening to me?" I was so angry. I heard that, and immediately a switch flipped in my brain. Shannon, it keeps happening to you because you keep getting out of the car the same way. You've got those things in your life too. Yeah, Carol says a lot to think about. It is a lot to think about. And don't get overwhelmed. I want to encourage all of you. Don't get overwhelmed. Start with one thing. Jason says, I beat myself up so bad when I mess up. I'm my harshest critic. Oh, Jason, isn't that the truth? We can be so hard on ourselves. We can be so hard. But beating ourselves up is a whole different ball game than encouraging ourselves to do better and to learn and move on. Being gentle with ourselves, forgiving ourselves for messing up, being grateful that we've realized that we're doing it so that we can change. We all know somebody, we all know more than one person who is stuck in the same cycle of repetitive behavior, and they are oblivious to the fact that they've done anything to cause it. Jay, when you beat yourself up, in a way it's a good sign because it means you recognize that you fell short of a goal. But I want to encourage you to take a look at that, and instead of beating ourselves up like we do, take the good stuff that we learned from it, forgive ourselves like we would want someone else to forgive us, and then move on. That's how we learn. We learn by messing up. It's true. Watch a baby who's trying to learn to walk. Watch how many times he falls, bumps his head, bumps his backside, falls on his shoulder, and then he rolls back up, pulls himself back up on that table, and he tries it again. That's how he learns, and we still learn that way. So Jay, you don't have to be your harshest critic. You can be your biggest supporter, and I'm right behind you. I'll be number 2. Let's see. Missy says this, when we realize we are human, make mistakes, but blame no one else but ourselves and make changes to make it better, that's all it takes to make a difference. Plus listening to Shannon. Woohoo! Thank you, Missy. I love that. It's really true. We are human. We are not perfect. And when we can understand that about ourselves and give ourselves permission to make the adjustment, that's when we actually start gaining some ground and gaining momentum. I'm so glad that we're on this track, you guys, because I never want Sunday Night Live to come across as a big lecture. I never want it to come across as, hey folks, this is a whole list of ways, and if you aren't checking them off, you are a failure. I never want to be that kind of a person, and I'm not that kind of a person. My heart says we can all, if we choose to, get a little better every day. And that's what we're talking about here. Let's see. Carol says this, by seeing our mistakes, we have more mercy on others that feel bad. I love that take on it, Carol. That's absolutely true. I would agree with that. I would agree with that because when we can treat ourselves with mercy, genuine mercy, and not the arrogance that says, I'm better than everybody else, so I'm allowed to make a mistake. But the genuine grace and mercy that we extend to ourselves when we say, I'm human and I love me because I'm trying and I'm working on this, and I'm going to forgive myself for falling short, and I'm going to encourage myself to keep going. We can apply those same skills to other people and empathize with them, and we know how they feel. It's a beautiful thing. Wynn, I'm glad you're here. Barbara, I am so glad you're here. We are just winding up, and I've loved some of the dialogue, you guys. Thank you for the comments. It's powerful when we share, and I'm honored to be here with you to give you a way to share and also some things to think about as we decide to move ahead this week. Tomorrow's a new day. It's a new week. I'm hoping, I'm praying that you guys are blessed and fruitful and that you work toward that significance in a meaningful way that I know that you crave. If I can help you in any way, feel free to jump in the comments and let me know. It's an honor to share tonight with you. If you just popped on, you can watch the replay. Go back up to the top right now and you can watch all of the points that encourage us how we can actually start our growth journey, and it's to take responsibility. And if you would be so kind, I ask every one of you who have not done so, please go on YouTube, search Shannon LaBruyere, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll be able to see all of the archived content and everything that happens in the future, because all of these get posted on Sunday Night Lives, all get posted on YouTube. But also it will help me to be able to name my channel. I would love to reach 100 subscribers, and you can help me. So with that, you guys, mwah, I love you. Have a great week, and I will see you again soon. Bye.